She had practiced dancing for many years, and with her slender body she could barely squeeze through. Thinking of this, she put her head under the tap and kept washing it. The cold water poured on her head, and her consciousness temporarily returned to her body. Then, taking advantage of her sobriety, she climbed to the row of windows in a few steps, ignoring the startled mandarin ducks around her. He stretched his head and squeezed his body out of the small window with great effort. Selena, are you okay?" Hearing the rustling sound inside, Prawalton, who had been listening outside, was a little anxious. He couldn't help but knock on the door and ask inside. But after waiting for a while, no sound came back. So, Prawalton was also a little anxious. He gave a look to his men. Then, one of his bodyguards had already taken the key from the staff here and directly opened the door of the bathroom. Just as the door opened, Prawalton happened to see Selena Gomez jump out of the window. "Who is it? Go after her." Seeing the duck in his hand fly away, Prawalton couldn't just let it go. After speaking to the two bodyguards behind him, these people quickly chased out. At the same time, they informed the two bodyguards outside to go around the back alley at the first time. At this time, when Selena Gomez fell from the window, she just happened to fall on a car parked here. With a bang, the pair of wild mandarin ducks in the car were shocked. Then the man immediately put on his clothes and pants. Fortunately, it was late spring, so the temperature here wasn't low. He only had a jacket and a pair of pants. If it was winter, it would be troublesome. After putting on his clothes, the man ran out immediately. When he saw someone fall on the roof of his car, he couldn't help but curse, "Oh, who is it? *CK, son of a bitch, do you want to die? My car. I'm sorry." At this time, Selena Gomez was not in the mood to care about his problem. She jumped out of the car awkwardly. After saying that, she wanted to leave, but she was caught by the man. "You want to leave with just an apology? You think too highly of yourself. If you don't pay for my car today, don't think about leaving." Pulling Selena Gomez's arm, the man shouted loudly. Under his pull, her wet hair was thrown to the side, and her face appeared in front of him. Selena Gomez. Although she was not a top superstar, her relationship with Justin Bieber was quite popular in the United States and Canada. Most Americans actually knew her face. They might not have listened to her music, but they were familiar with her face. Obviously, this man also recognized her. "Hey, if you don't want to pay for my car, then accompany me for a night. I'll pay for the fare." Looking at the delicate little face in front of him, the man said a little obscenely. Then he wanted to take Selena Gomez into the car, but Selena Gomez would not let him do as he wished. She used all her strength in her high heels and stepped heavily on the man's foot, who did not have time to put on his shoes. The instant pain in his foot forced the man to let go of her. She also took this opportunity to run forward awkwardly, but unfortunately she really did not have the strength. Although the kick was painful, it did not make the man give up. After screaming in pain twice, he limped after her. Now he was angry and anxious, but compared to playing with Selena in a while, these were not a problem. Feeling that the man behind her was chasing her again, Selena wanted to run faster, but she really could not speed up. In the end, in a hurry, her foot slipped and she fell again, but this time she was lucky to fall on the front cover of a car. With a bang, it also startled the three people in the back of the car. When the three of them were startled and got up to look, the man among the three of them recognized the person lying on the cover of the car at a glance. Selena Gomez? The man could be said to be very familiar with this woman, because this man was none other than Jiang Hai. After Jiang Hai brought the two girls out, he started in his car. With Jiang Hai's strong fighting power, the time naturally would not be short, especially when he was facing attacks from two sides at the same time. It was precisely because he did not leave that Jiang Hai was able to catch up. He and Selena Gomez could be said to be friends. Not only had she been to Jiang Hai's manor to play, but Jiang Hai had always remembered that she had helped him at the New York Beef Show. Jiang Hai was a person who knew how to repay kindness, so he immediately put on his clothes and got out of the car. As soon as he got out of the car, he saw a man limping over to Selena Gomez. "This has nothing to do with you, get lost. Stupid bitch, how dare you step on me?" When the man came over, he shouted at Jiang Hai, and then grabbed Selena's hair, wanting to drag her away. What a joke, you want to touch his friend in front of Jiang Hai. At that moment, Jiang Hai did not say anything and kicked him. The man did not expect Jiang Hai to be so fast and start the fight without saying a word. This gave him no time to react and he was kicked in the chest by Jiang Hai. The man flew for about 5 meters in the air before landing on another car. This time he fell much harder than when Selena stepped on his car. The entire rear windshield was shattered, and the man and woman who were fighting inside were shocked. The man immediately put on his clothes and ran out to see what was going on. At this time, Jiang Hai had already arrived in front of Selena and helped her up. What's going on? Looking at Selena Gomez, who seemed to be drunk, but there was no smell of alcohol on her body, Jiang Hai was a little confused. He looked at her with a puzzled face and asked. Hearing Jiang Hai's voice, Selena Gomez also woke up a little. When she saw that it was Jiang Hai, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and said intermittently, "Hurry, let's go." After that, her head tilted. Although she didn't faint, she had no strength to run or speak. Seeing this scene, Jiang Hai frowned, then put her in the back seat, said to the two girls to take care of her, and then was ready to leave. But before he left, two men in black chased after him. Jiang Hai remembered these two men. They were Prawalton's bodyguards. These two men were ordered to bring Selena Gomez back, but they just saw Jiang Hai carrying her into the car, which made them very unhappy. Now seeing that Jiang Hai was about to drive away, the two men here looked at each other, and one of them kicked him without saying a word. Chapter 372. I'm finally back. Lying on the sofa in her home, Feng Yunxin said with a happy face. Even if they took a first-class plane back, it still made her a little depressed. Flying is really not a fun thing. In fact, whether it's by car, train, plane, or ship, it's actually very tiring. However, it was true that first-class cabins and the like could rest better. Sister Chen, don't you want to pack up? Looking at Feng Yunxin, who was lying directly on the sofa without any image, Ai Xiaoxi couldn't help but sigh. She looked at her sister with some hesitation and asked speechlessly. Xiaoxi, don't worry about this anymore. You've been on the plane for more than 10 hours. Aren't you tired? Waving her hand, Feng Yunxin said to Ai Xiaoxi, but Ai Xiaoxi sighed and shook her head. This Sister Chen really can't do anything to her. But thinking about it, this trip was also thanks to her care, so Ai Xiaoxi didn't say anything. She just put their luggage on the sofa and began to pack. In fact, it's called luggage, but it's mainly the clothes they wear. The company's photography clothes, cameras, and other things were packed separately in the United States. After getting off the plane, naturally people from the company came to pick them up. Those things have already been taken away by the company's people, but when they were dividing the luggage, they unexpectedly found two sets of packaged clothes with Jiang Hai's name written on them. At first they were stunned. Until they found out that these were two sets of women's clothes, their faces couldn't help but blush. They knew that these were given to them by Jiang Hai. So under the gaze of the staff who came to pick them up, they took these two sets of clothes and their luggage and left. Returning to their home in the capital, both Feng Yunxin and Ai Xiaoxi felt a little emotional. Sister Chen, how much do you think Jiang Hai bought us this set of clothes? Pulling the things over, the most conspicuous one was the set of clothes placed on the top. This set of clothes was not from the same brand but a mix of them. The trench coat is from Burberry. There are also Donkey brand, Chanel, Versace, Givenchy. Anyway, Jiang Hai doesn't really choose. He just buys whichever one he thinks is beautiful. Money? He didn't really care about these things. Therefore, from a professional fashion point of view, Jiang Hai's outfit was indeed a little strange. It was a little too extravagant. After all, Jiang Hai had bought the most expensive non-custom-made products among these brands. However, in the eyes of ordinary people, these clothes were really very beautiful. It was also very good to wear them out and mix them up. Ai Xiaoxi looked at the clothes in her hand and asked Feng Yunxin curiously. She had just entered this circle. Although she longed for these clothes, she didn't know much. For a woman, a good dress was always the best. Can't you check it yourself? She rolled her eyes at Ai Xiaoxi. She doesn't have to worry about food and drink. Naturally, she doesn't care. As for the problem of loneliness, a professionally trained person like her doesn't care. Well, I will bring you some books when I come back next time. What do you want to read? Hearing the woman's words, Jiang Hai shook his head. This woman is really straightforward, but Jiang Hai doesn't care. Before Jiang Hai decides how to deal with her, let her stay here. Thank you in advance. I want Twilight. If possible, please give me a few more Secret Garden books and pencils. Looking at Jiang Hai, the woman said with a serious face. But after hearing what she wants, Jiang Hai couldn't help but laugh. Originally, he thought that this woman was a cold-blooded killer. A cold-blooded killer shouldn't want to read these things. He didn't expect this woman to have a young girl's heart. Don't look at me like that. After all, I am only 21 years old this year. Looking at Jiang Hai's expression, Azalina Vicarborio shrugged and said with a calm face. To be honest, seeing her suddenly reminded him that she was just in her early 20s. Because Azalina has been trained before and received missions, her skin, face, and so on are more mature than people of the same age. When Jiang Hai saw her for the first time, he thought that she was about the same age as him. But he didn't expect her to be so much younger than him. Hearing her request, Jiang Hai just nodded and left. Back home, Jiang Hai packed up and drove his car to the town. At 10 o'clock in the morning, they still have to sign the contract at the town hall. This is a big deal for Jiang Hai. Jiang Hai invested in 3 projects this time: a seaside villa, a gun shop, and a souvenir street. The estimated cost is about $250 million, but once it is built, the profits will be considerable. Jiang Hai naturally won't make a loss. If the tourist flow of Winthrop is maintained at 100,000 a year, Jiang Hai estimates that he can make more than $30 million. After deducting taxes, he can make back his capital in about 20 years. Then it will be pure profit. But if it is $1 million a year, then he can make back his capital in 2 years. Of course, $1 million is just an idea. Winthrop is located on the East Coast, which isn't a very good location. That's because the local tycoons prefer to play on the West Coast, which is closer to California. The East Coast is too far away for them. According to Moses Adams and the townspeople, the tourists here are mainly Americans and Europeans. But Jiang Hai doesn't think so. There's always a voice in his heart that tells him that his country will definitely help him a lot in this regard. So, Jiang Hai doesn't hesitate to fork out $250 million. After arriving at the town hall, Jiang Hai signs the contract with the mayor and the town's representative. Should they continue or go to the Animal Conservation Center and take these little guys away? To be honest, Jiang Hai was also a little hesitant because these little guys are quite cute. But after all, these guys were ferocious beasts. If they grew up and attacked his family, it would be troublesome. However, chasing them away like this was quite troublesome. He never expected that the female mountain lion, who was still alone the last time he saw her, would give birth so quickly. Furthermore, she gave birth to 5 cubs. Mountain lions could only give birth to 6 cubs at most. This fellow was really impressive. She gave birth to 5 cubs by herself. Most importantly, these 5 cubs looked pretty good. Just as Jiang Hai was a little hesitant about this, thinking about whether to chase them away himself or inform the protection center, the female mountain lion suddenly stood up. Suddenly, the lioness stood up and stared at the surroundings. Seeing this scene, Jiang Hai and the others were startled. They thought that they had been exposed. Just as Jiang Hai was about to attack, a loud cry came from the bushes on their side. Then a huge wild boar came running from the bushes in the distance. When he saw this guy, Jiang Hai was also shocked because there were no wild boars in this forest. What's going on with this wild boar? In fact, what Jiang Hai didn't know was that most animals can swim, including wild boars. Since the mountain lion could swim to Jiang Hai, it was naturally possible for wild boars to do the same. If Jiang Hai looked carefully, there were actually many surprises waiting for him in this small forest.